Hi everyone, I'm Pete and welcome to Just a Few Acres Farm. Today I thought I'd give you a little update on the piglets. So here are Red's piglets. And these guys are a bunch of little chunks. They're growing really nicely. I started feeding them a little grain on the floor yesterday and they're fighting with mom over it. So they all look great. There's actually 11 left now out of the 13 because one I know got stepped on and one we found dead in the morning. I'm not sure why. Missy is all by herself now. A couple days ago, Henry and I weaned her piglets off of her, which is always a hard job. But her piglets are about 5 weeks old. And here are the little guys. They're all doing great, all 8 of them. We put some heat lamps up because it's been pretty cold here, especially at night. It's been getting down around freezing. And today's all rainy and windy, so they spend a lot of time under the heat lamp. They eat slop, which is a mixture of water and feed. And funny story, the first night after Henry and I weaned them, Hillary came out to the barn to turn on the heat lamps for the night. And the piglets were all against this wall, sucking on the wall like it was mama's teats. And so weaning piglets is a tough thing, but here we are a couple days later and mom's calmed down and the piglets seem happy. They've been rooting around in this dirt-floored pen. We put in a bunch of hay for them. So everything is good in piglet world. Henry came out to help me move the piglets. But before we could move them, we had to get the pen ready. This is the pen that we normally use when we load out beef cows. So they come in from the cattle pen through this gate here, and then they spend a day or two in this pen till we load them in the trailer. And also we use this head gate here for when we have the vets pregnancy check the cows or for any other thing that we have to have the cows looked at for. So there was big gaps, and Henry and I had to fill it in with just temporary 2x4 welded wire mesh fencing so that the piglets wouldn't escape. So we did that first, and then we were ready to move the piglets. Now, the difficult thing about moving the piglets out from their mom was we had no free pen to put mom in because we had already put the fence on this pen. So what I had to do was move Missy out of her pen. So she was in the aisle here. And then I went into her pen with the crates, loaded the piglets in the crates, while she went nuts out here because her piglets were squealing and she's a good mom. And then I had to do the switcheroo where at the same time I let her back into the pen, I pulled the piglets out in the crates and brought them into the aisle and then put them into this pen. So it was trickier than usual, but it all went okay. Now to house these piglets for the winter, we're doing something different than we've ever done before. We have housed them outside in the winter, which I don't like. It's just too cold for them here. And we've housed them in the pig barn in one of the empty pens, but the pen's just too small. They foul it too quickly. So this year, we're going to use a space in this pole barn. And I'll show it to you. The same day that Henry and I weaned the piglets, we worked on cleaning out the pole barn, and it's a huge job. This bay was loaded with stuff. It's just things that I collected over the years. You know, I'm a hoarder, so every time I have a project where I need some lumber, I always save all the scraps. And the problem is the pile gets so big that I can't see what's in the middle of the pile, so they just sit there. So I threw out things that have been around here for 25 years, ever since Hillary and I moved back. And we need to clear out this whole bay, and we're going to fence it in, and then we're going to put, we're going to fence it in with hog panels which are a kind of wire mesh panel, a thick wire mesh. And then we may put a lower roof on one portion of it so that the heat will stay in better, and put some heat lamps in the top of it to keep the pigs warm in the winter. But the idea here is to give them this big area and then deep bed it with straw so that we can keep it dry and actually keep them mixing it up. And I plan to buy some cracked corn or maybe whole kernel corn and spread it throughout the bedding as we lay layers down, a sort of Joel Salatin kind of method, to see if the pigs will keep stirring that up so that the bedding doesn't stratify, because if it stratifies, you're still gonna have problems with moisture on the top because it won't soak down through the bedding. So we're gonna give that a try. It's a new system for this year. It's always a work in progress here, but all of those piglets that you saw in the pig barn are gonna wind up in here for the cold months of the winter. So we took all the scrap wood out of here. We piled it outside the barn, and I cut it up with the chainsaw, and then Henry and I took the pieces and put them into the woodshed for this winter. They'll make great kindling. It's good dry wood to start the fire with. So it's not garbage, it's heat for the winter.
It's like storing up nuts for winter.
And these nuts keep us warm.
Yep. Imagine if each one of these pieces of wood was a nut and we were squirrels. That would be insane. Just how many nuts there would be.
Make kindling wood to start the fire anyway.
Yep.
Which we're going to have to do this afternoon. As cold as it is.
That's it.
Yay. Ready?
Yeah.
And then the downward pump. The great thing about working with Henry is he always turns the job into something fun. And we had some fun doing the wood, even though it was not a fun job. Look, the door's starting to look like an axe murderer was trying to get in. Or, not an axe murderer.
Chainsaw?
Yeah, the door looks like the chainsaw murderer was trying to get in. Like a horror movie.
Yeah, and then he just cuts through it. Here's Johnny! What if he asks? Oh my god, we should save this for Halloween.
Yeah, right? Here's Johnny! Ah.
Perfect!
Here's Johnny! Hi! I just got to say one thing about this old tractor that's been sitting in here for quite a while. This is Farmall MD, and I think it's a 1952 model. Dad farmed with this when I was a kid, and it's a really unique tractor because it starts on gasoline, and then as the engine warms up, it gets warm enough, you change it over to diesel. So it's a gas start diesel engine. Same engine, no separate gasoline engine, but it switches over to diesel. It's something really unique. It was always a hard starter in cold weather, but one of these days, Dad and I are gonna rebuild the engine, redo the tractor, and it'll become a working tractor on the farm. Nice piece of history for me and for my father as well, because we both use this tractor a lot. So there's a lot of stuff in here that we need to get out. And it's such a huge job. It's one of those jobs where if you look at it as a whole when you start, you just get overwhelmed. And I have gotten overwhelmed with this job. The way to do a job like this is to break it down into little pieces. You know, like, well, first I'm going to clean out the scrap lumber in the front part. Then I'm going to pull out this old tractor and this auger. You know, I got to get rid of the old tires. Some of them are good. I can put them on Craigslist and sell them. And then I'll attack that huge pile of lumber in the back, which is really probably 80% of the job, and get this cleared out. It's got to be done in about 4 weeks or so to move the piglets in here because they'll be getting too big for that little pen. And we'll see how it goes. I'll keep you updated. Thanks for joining me today. And don't forget to click that subscribe button on the bottom of the screen and that little bell so that you get notifications when we have new videos. And hit that thumbs up button if you like this video. We'll be back with more videos on the pigs, as well as the chickens, the cows, the family. Lots going on here in the fall at Just a Few Acres Farm. Thanks for tuning in.